Oh, welcome to the channel. Episode 2 of The Walking Dead, Daryl, Dixon, and the Book of Carol is available for streaming. And episode 2 was definitely a little bit more fast paced for me this time. So I'm really excited to get into it. So as always, there will be spoilers coming up. So make sure that you have watched the episode. Is streaming right now on AMC and AMC Plus. I think one of the most exciting scenes of the entire episode was the scene between Carol and Hannah. The editing, the acting, these two women carrying this whole scene for, I believe, nine and a half minutes, maybe 10, was so well done. I can feel the tension in the room. Just really great for someone who just came into the scene, and that's someone I'm talking about is Maria, the actress, alongside Melissa, who plays Hannah. I was just so enthralled in this scene, and I thought it was really well done. This is the kind of stuff right here that I love when a show does this. And of course, we see Carol finally landing in France. But before that, she had to deal with Hannah and some walkers. And I think you could see Carol struggling with having lied to Ash and leaving his home for the first time, and then he ends up killing Hannah. Carol convinces Ash to stay back, and I think, again, she feels sort of a sense of responsibility for his life, and he's just wanting to help her get his daughter. I don't know when the lie is going to be revealed, but when it does, it's not going to be pretty. And I just hope that Ash makes it through this season alive and intact, though we will see, right? And so really great montage of Carol finally in France, and you can see her walking, and it's just another great scene. Parts of France that I don't think that we've seen yet, and Carol runs into some bad people. It's interesting because she doesn't know they're bad until it's too late, but we know that they're bad, and so she runs into them and gets captured. Great scenes with Carol this week. I honestly think that her story, her arc this season is going to be really interesting. So I'm really excited about seeing the rest of what unfolds for her. On the other side of the story, here we see Daryl and Isabel and Laurent kind of they have developed this bond, almost very familial, which makes what happens when Laurent gets, quote, taken, really, really interesting. We are made to believe that he was taken, but he wasn't really taken. He was just set aside in the same compound that they're in to get Daryl out of the way. They've been trying to get Daryl out of the way, they meaning Lusang. It's just kind of, they want to test the boy, and they need Daryl not to be there, obviously, and they create this sort of diversion, and people die and things get messy. And we see Falou and Emile. Obviously, they came back in this episode, and they go out with Daryl and some others, along with Isabel, to find Laurent, and we see some serious backstabbing. Everyone's just trying to keep this kid Laurent around, and Jacinta, she's afraid that if Daryl says I'm leaving, that Laurent and would leave with. It does seem that Daryl poses a threat, and so he pointed out to Isabel that you're not like them all, you're like us, and suggested that when he took off, she and Laurent could accompany him. Obviously, initially rejected the idea, but after the capture, the quote capture of Laurent, she changes course. We also see in this episode a kiss between Daryl and Isabel. I'm pretty sure that's the first kiss, on-screen kiss that Daryl's had. And it felt, I'm be honest, it felt a little random and out of place a bit. And yeah, so that happens. Trying to get Laurent back, we see Emile, he's sort of struggling, right? And so since he got back, and you see him turn the gun on Daryl, and he reveals to Daryl and Isabel, that the ceremony has been moved up. It involves Laurent being bitten by a walker. When he didn't turn, it would prove to everyone there of the faithful that he really was the Messiah. This is some weird shit, honestly. I'm not sure I like this part of the storyline, I'm gonna be honest. Isabel and Falou weren't going to let Emile shoot Daryl, obviously. This is where Isabel manages to grab Emile's gun after Falou hits him to stop him from shooting Daryl, and she ends up shooting him. And this is where she changes course and decides that she's ready to leave the nest with Daryl and Laurent. So that's pretty much the situation. They obviously go back to the nest, and they can't get there because the tide is up now, and so they have to wait in order to get back. So we discover that Genet was still torturing Cadron, and and he's miraculously, surprisingly, still hasn't talked. It hasn't disclosed Laurent's whereabouts, but he has clearly been tortured, and that is a really quick recap of the episode. I like this episode. I really did. I like that we see Carol finally land in France. Hopefully this storyline in the nest kind of wraps itself, because it's not my favorite. Genet and Carol, there's going to be a showdown of those two eventually. So we'll get to see that, and see how that unfolds in the next episode. We also will get to see Carol and Drone interact, and hopefully give Carol some clues, hints as to where Daryl is. So I think the cool thing about where Carol is she doesn't know who the enemies are just yet, and who the friends are. So I think she's pretty smart, and I loved seeing her just be a real badass in this episode, and I think more of that is great. Daryl being caught up with Laurent and Isabel, it's just going to be, I feel like it's going to be an interesting dynamic when Daryl and Carol reunite. So we'll see how that rolls out. Overall, I thought this episode was slightly better than the first. I just thought the pacing of this one was better, and yeah. Let me know your thoughts, and let me know your thoughts on the kiss. I'd be curious to know what you all thought of that, and we'll talk to you next week.